how do you feel like you as a person, your personality, who you were before, and then kind of like, I feel like for many people, when they get into these groups, it's kind of like they get filtered through this thing and they're turned into somewhat of a shell of their former self. And so would you say that was true about your experience?
Absolutely. I think the pseudo personality is real, like that you develop in a high control group like this, because you're being trained to become something that they can use, not a person that's well-rounded, self-sufficient, and able to survive on themselves by themselves out in the world, but more so like dependent, heavily dependent on this group. And you seek for validation in this group. So I was a person who loved like being around my family members and wanting to spend time with them. Like I had friends who were just like, are you okay? Like I was less and less excited about honestly life, right? Like everything just seemed to be pointless. If this group exists and we're all supposed to belong here, like what are the rest of us doing here? Your perspective completely changes. You see people and you think you're just on your path to hell, like in judgment, and I need to save you, and that is on me, right? And so it's so difficult to really look at life the same way when I was there. And so it kind of sucks this life out of you. And that is something, honestly, post leaving that I kind of had to figure out, like, what does Ready like? Like, what do I even like? Because I had completely forgotten it, honestly, by the time I left. And the trainings and the rigorous kind of like mental pressure there is that you're in there in this incubator where it's like an echo chamber. You hear it from everyone. It's the same thing. And you feel like you need to conform to this group. Otherwise, you stick out and it's not a pretty situation for you, you know, and things have loosened up a bit over the years. But especially when it was, you know, the early stages of the DC area group, there was heavy, like, we would go to these retreats. They would call them retreats so that they could take us somewhere where it was like a campsite. And there was a point where the leader had started yelling at us already and didn't, you know, realize that other facility staff members hadn't left the premises, right? And so he asked one of the leaders to go and check to make sure everyone was gone because he was about to like basically go off on everyone that was there. And so these are the things that would happen. And so eventually and you start to develop mistrust because I realized, you know, your situation is discussed amongst the leaders. No one truly keeps your secret. That's not a thing because everything is reported as leaders you're mandated to, especially if it's something that may cause someone to leave this group, right? And I naturally am like, I'm very much like, until you prove me wrong, like you've got my trust. And that I was hurt multiple times in that sense. And I just thought, wow, like, nothing really matters. It's about the agenda and the bigger purpose here. And so I developed this mistrust, didn't really want to open up about much after that, right? Even if things were going on in my personal life. So it just became a very stressful circumstance. And there was no really, the bright, ready, whatever is left of her was just long gone when I was there, essentially, especially the latter couple of years where I had a lot more responsibility. Mental health is big. They don't really, I mean, they talk about it some, but there are people there who develop mental health challenges because of the environment they're in. And it's not surprising, right? It's a very stressful situation that fosters toxic kind of relationships. And so